Tech Nuggets, RD Gateway. We're going to talk about Remote Desktop Gateway today. And the Remote Desktop Gateway is a feature that we use with remote desktop connections, RDP, right? And it's a way to create a secure tunnel through a firewall to an interior network using RDP. And this allows us to use one client to do connections in without having to set up a VPN ahead of time and do all that other kind of stuff. So the diagram that I've got here shows kind of what's going on. We've got the RDP client, we've got the internet, we've kind of got the firewalls that we use here on campus, and then we have our RD gateway, and then it goes on to the target machine that we actually want to make the RDP connection to so that we can remote control the GUI. And so what you're seeing here is the light blue line is the RD gateway connection. And that happens over port 443. It's got certificates, SSL certificates that are set up ahead of time, so that way there's a trust certificate chain that goes with that to make that connection to the RD gateway. You'll also be prompted for username and cred when you do that kind of thing, so that way you'll authenticate not only to the RD gateway to allow for that connection, but then you'll use maybe different cred, maybe the same cred to connect to the RDP target machine. So the light blue line will show our RD gateway connection, and the dark blue line shows the RDP connection that goes from our client to the target machine that we want to remote control. When we go to set this up, there's a lot of confusion that goes with using RD gateway. Mostly it's just setting up some extra settings in your normal remote desktop client. So I'm showing here the normal remote desktop client. You would put in the connection in the computer field for the computer you want to remote control that you ultimately want to connect to. To set up the RD gateway options to set that secure connection up, you'll use the Advanced tab on this same screen. So you can see here I've shown the Advanced tab for the RDP client. And so we would hit Advanced, and then down at the bottom it says Connect from Anywhere. And we would have to hit the settings button there, which shows the second screen, which is on the right, where we would go down and you would select use these RD gateway server settings. And you can see we put in our server name there for the ECT ITS RD gateway. We might check the little button for local addresses in case you're RDPing. You can use these settings. Down at the bottom, you can see there are no usernames specified. So the first time you connect to the RD gateway, it's going to ask for your credentials. In my case, that's going to be an Ohio ID and a password that goes with it, and you'll have to be in all the right groups back on the Active Directory side to be able to have that. So, but normally you would use your Ohio ID and password would let you in. Remember, that might be different than what you use to connect to the ultimate machine at the end. That server field name must be filled in to have this work. I'm going to go on and do a practical demonstration so we can sort of talk about how this works and how do I connect to different things and that kind of thing next. So I'm going to demo the remote desktop client connecting through an RD gateway to a remote machine. So the first thing we'll want to do is open up the remote desktop connection client. Now I did a Tech Nugget on the remote desktop client and its basic connectivity. So if you need more details on that kind of thing, go back and have a look at that one. In this case, we're going to open show options, and we're going to type in the IP address of the machine that I want to connect to on the remote end. So this is the machine I want to remote control and what I want to do with it. And the IP address here, or a host name, is the only thing I need to make that connection on the far end. However, if I need to use an RD gateway, I'll have to go to the Advanced tab and to Settings. And in here is where we set RD gateway. And so we can see those settings here. And I'm going to put in my RD gateway settings. And it's very particular. You have to put it in, that's a host name. It's a very specific machine. And that'll be the machine that we make the encrypted connection to first. And it'll ask for one set of credentials for that. And then the second set of credentials it'll ask for is for this remote machine that we want to control. So we'll hit connect. And it'll think about it, and it's asking for our RD server connection credentials. I'm going to put in my Ohio ID and my Ohio password. And you can check the little remember me button and it will never ask you again. Then it will come up and ask me for the credentials for the remote machine I want to connect. And that's what we're looking at here. And that may not be your Ohio ID. That may be a different set of credentials. So you may have one set of credentials to connect to the RD gateway, and you may have a different set of credentials to connect to the remote machine. In this case, I do. And again, you can check the little, remember me button and it'll remember all that stuff. And the next time you go to connect, it won't ask you any questions. It'll just sort of blow through all that and connect. This is the typical cert discussion. Again, in the RD Gateway Tech Nugget, I covered this. You can check the box and hit yes, or you can import the certs, whatever's appropriate for your organization. If you don't have an organization, I usually just check the little box and hit yes. That's the end of it. And we can see here I've made a remote connection. There we go. I put this ugly orange background on it so that we can see it. And you can see the tile bar up here at the top, and I've got that's the IP address of my remote machine. And I can turn it into a window so that I can pull it up and look at it and that kind of thing. We can look at it and we can kill the connection by doing that. And if you don't like this, you can check the little box. And the other one I wanted to do was something a little more unique to our environment. We do use a product called xrdp, which is an RDP server for Ubuntu. Ubuntu desktop. I'm sure it works in other flavors of Debian, but it's the one we use, and it works pretty well. It's an open source product. It's free. I've got a box here set up with it already, so we're going to see how it works. I'm actually going to go into display and dial that down so it's a little bit smaller. This is the size of the window that we're going to get. And again, I've got my settings in here already for RD Gateway, and we will hit connect. Ask me for my RD Gateway password, and yes, I want to connect. This is where it gets kind of fun. This is clearly not Windows if you're familiar with Windows GUIs. However, we can put in the username and password that we get. So in our case, we're going to put in ITS class and the ITS class password, and whack. We're using a Windows RDP connection to make a connection to Ubuntu. This works really well. We've used this a bunch. It copies, it pastes, it does a nice job. It's pretty responsive for what you want it to do. It's pretty nice. You can full screen it and it'll stretch and full screen and do that kind of stuff. It works pretty well. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our video today. Stay tuned for more. Well, that wraps up this Tech Nugget, and we'll see you another time for the next one.